In the heart of Pennsylvania, hidden deep within the dense Ravenhill woods, lies the infamous Blackwood Manor. The manor, built in the late 1800s, was once a grand estate, home to the prosperous Blackwood family. The family consisted of Thomas Blackwood, a renowned architect, his wife Margaret, an artist, and their two children, Emily and Henry. The family was well respected in the community, known for their kindness and generosity. However, their seemingly perfect life took a dark turn in the summer of 1974. One morning, the housekeeper arrived at the manor to find it eerily silent. The breakfast table was set as usual, the morning sun streaming through the windows, but there was no sign of the Blackwoods. The coffee was still warm, steam rising from the cups, and the children's toys were scattered on the living room floor. Despite the thorough search by the local authorities and the community, the family was never found. The case went cold, and the manor was abandoned, left to decay as rumors of its haunted nature spread through the town. Fast forward to the early 2000s, a group of urban explorers, intrigued by the legend of Blackwood Manor, decided to spend a night in the house to document any paranormal activity. The group consisted of 4 friends: Mark, the leader and a seasoned explorer; Sarah, a skeptic who believed in logical explanations; David, a tech enthusiast with a fascination for the paranormal; and Lisa, who had a sensitivity to the supernatural. They arrived at the manor just before midnight, the moon casting eerie shadows over the crumbling facade. The air was thick with anticipation as they made their way inside, cameras rolling to capture every moment. The interior of the house was a time capsule, frozen in 1974. Dust-covered furniture, faded wallpaper, and the faint smell of old wood greeted them as they explored the ground floor. As they moved through the house, strange things began happening. The temperature in the rooms would drop suddenly, their breath visible in the cold air. They heard faint whispers that seemed to come from nowhere, and doors that had been closed were now open. Despite the unsettling atmosphere, the group pressed on, determined to uncover the truth behind the legend. Their journey through the manor led them to the second floor, where they found the children's room. The room was surprisingly well preserved, with a small bed, a dresser, and a rocking chair by the window. As they entered, the rocking chair began to move on its own, slowly at first, then faster, as if someone invisible was sitting in it. David, the skeptic, approached the chair, determined to debunk whatever was causing it to move. But as soon as he touched the chair, he froze, his eyes wide with terror. He began muttering incoherently, his gaze fixed on something only he could see. The others tried to snap him out of it, but he remained in a trance, his face pale, as if all the blood had drained from his body. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the house, and the door to the children's room slammed shut, trapping them inside. The group panicked, banging on the door, but it wouldn't budge. The temperature in the room plummeted, and they could see their breath in the freezing air. The whispers grew louder, more distinct, until they realized they were hearing the voices of children, Emily and Henry, pleading for help. Then, the room grew deathly silent, except for the sound of the rocking chair creaking. Lisa, who had a sensitivity to the supernatural, began to feel a presence in the room. She could sense a deep sadness, a longing that permeated the air. As she looked around, she noticed something in the reflection of the window, a figure standing behind David. It was a woman in a white dress, her face twisted in agony, her eyes filled with sorrow. The woman in the reflection reached out towards David, her hand passing through his shoulder. As she did, David let out a blood-curdling scream and collapsed to the floor. The door to the room burst open and the group rushed out, dragging David with them. They fled the house, not daring to look back. Once outside, they realized David was in shock, his body trembling uncontrollably. He muttered incoherently about the woman, about how she was searching for something, someone. The group quickly packed up their equipment and drove away, leaving Blackwood Manor behind. Back at home, they reviewed the footage they had captured that night. What they saw sent chills down their spines. In the children's room, as they stood near the rocking chair, the figure of the woman in white was clearly visible in the reflection of the window. She was standing right behind David, her hand reaching out to him. But it wasn't just the woman. There were two smaller figures, children, standing next to her, their faces hidden in the shadows. Lisa, still shaken by the experience, did some research and discovered an old newspaper article that had been overlooked during the investigation into the Blackwood family's disappearance. The article detailed a tragic event that had occurred years before the family vanished. Margaret Blackwood, the mother, had suffered a mental breakdown after losing her youngest child, a baby, to a sudden illness. The article hinted that she believed the spirits of her children were trapped in the house, and she had become obsessed with trying to communicate with them. It was then that Lisa realized the truth. The woman they had seen was Margaret, still searching for her lost children, unable to rest in peace. The spirits of Emily and Henry too were trapped in the house, forever bound to the place where they had once lived. The group decided to release the footage online, sharing their story with the world. The video quickly went viral, and Blackwood Manor became a hotspot for paranormal investigators and thrill seekers. But despite the attention, no one dared spend the night in the house again. To this day, the fate of the Blackwood family remains a mystery. Some believe they were victims of a dark force within the house, while others think they simply vanished into the night, leaving behind a legacy of fear and unanswered questions. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain. Blackwood Manor is a place where the past refuses to stay buried, and where the spirits of the lost still roam, searching for something or someone they will never find.